sliceofscifi.com.
Hey, this is George at Hypno Comics here in Ventura, and it's Comic Book Day, brought to you by sliceofscifi.com. And I'm here with Horror Master Steve Niles, who's nice enough to join us today.
Hey,
thanks for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So we've got some of our local fans here who are waiting for you. I see some Frankenstein Alive out there, some Transfusion. So we want to just, talk about the great projects that you work on, and me personally, I have some questions about some of the artists that you have a knack for teaming up with.
Sure. Well, I love talking about this stuff. So, yeah, where do you want to start?
Let's talk about Transfusion.
Okay.
Transfusion's a big hit here for us. It's everybody loves it.
Yeah, which I was telling you earlier is hilarious because it started as a joke. And I hate to say, I went to San Diego. Right. I'm standing around the IDW booth, and it was when, they were just doing zombies versus robots, zombies versus cheerleaders, zombies versus ninjas. It was just all this stuff, and I was just making a smart-ass joke and said I should do vampires versus robots, and Ted Adams spun around and was like, would you do that? And within the hour, because I was meeting Menton there too, we came up with the title Transfusion, which was actually one I was going to use. I was going to do, remember that series Wake the Dead?
I do.
I was going to do the same thing with Dracula after that, and I was going to call it Transfusion, and then I just never really got around to doing it.
So how did you guys start fleshing out? I mean, well, first Menton.
Well, that was a big motivator, just to work with him.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing with me, with that, since I found the artist first, I was able to really build the world around him, and you can see, I mean, it's just sort of, you just plug him in. And I wanted this shell of a, planet with just like, I think I described the only trees are like burnt matches. And,
right.
And he gets that across so well. I mean, if you look at it, sometimes there's no backgrounds at all. It's just absolutely desolate. But
it's very John Jamuth.
Yeah.
That kind
that's how it's kind of like. It's kind of vampires, robots on the road kind of vibe to it.
I like the food bait.
Yeah.
That was an awesome.
Well, that's what was really fun too. Was I realized as soon as I started, I was like, God, humans are just screwed in this situation. So I made them. They're the rare thing. They're not. So really, the story is about the vampires and the robots. And I actually just talked to Menton this morning. He's working on the final issue right now because I concluded it. I had to do it in 3 issues. So he's pretty happy, but he said he didn't see the ending coming. So.
Okay, good. That's good to know. Any plans for anything else with Menton?
A lot. Yeah, we have a whole lot planned. Okay. He's also working simultaneously. We're doing a thing for Dark Horse Presents called Nosferatu Wars.
I did see the blurb for that.
Yeah, I just can't get away from vampires.
Well, you're doing well.
But I got this idea of I wanted to write a love story that takes place during the Black Plague, because I was like, wow, that would be a really great time to be a vampire, and if you read about when the plague especially was, everybody was dying in the streets, and then the only people who were really living were the rich who were hiding in their houses. So I was like, anybody they killed would be blamed on the plague. And they're all hiding, and they're like little restaurants they just run around to. So it's about these vampires and their adventure during the Black Plague.
I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah. So vampires.
Yeah, and then we have, Tome. I don't know. Have you been following the 44 Flood?
Not.
The Kickstarters at all? That's 44 Flood is basically Menton, Ben Templesmith, and 2 other guys who helped them out.
Okay.
And they put together, the guys who did Monocyte.
Monocyte was a great book, yeah.
And now we did a Kickstarter for this book, Tome, which is this massive book about vampirism.
Okay.
And they Kickstarted it, and I think they've got that out. And I did something, I worked with Chet Czar, who's a fine art, more of a lowbrow artist, fine artist.
Yeah.
So I wrote stories to his paintings. And then we just... we did a really successful Kickstarter with me, Menton, and Templesmith for a thing called Lust, which is kind of a challenge in that Menton and Ben are only giving me paintings. And then I have to write stories from that. And then once I write the stories, they'll go back in and convert some of them to comics. I've always wanted to do this, just really mix it up, do prose, comics.
Is it going to be a prose format?
Illustration, but make them so that they can't be separated. I've always said, if you wrote a prose sequence and then the second it hit a car chase or a fight scene, that part's illustrated. Like all the visual sections of the prose are illustrated, so they can't be pulled apart. So sort of start pulling prose and comics a little closer together. So I'm working on that. And then, you know, I've got more planned with Menton and Templesmith after this, but nothing we've really planned, you know, because we didn't expect this Kickstarter to do as well as it did.
Good.
We were going after $8,000 just to cover our basic printing costs, and it topped out at $80,000.
Nice, good for you guys. It's very nice.
So it's, you know, it went from kind of, which, you know, I don't think people know with creator-owned stuff, a lot of us work for free.
Yeah.
A lot.
Well, that was the case, was it on 30 Days of Night, didn't you guys?
Yeah, that's what I was just telling them. That was a free.
Yeah.
We didn't get paid. We got paid afterwards.
Afterwards,
you know,
right.
They came back and paid us.
Didn't they say, like, hey, you guys, we can't afford to pay for the last issue?
They weren't publishing that. You know, that's when
Right.
IDW, I mean, that's where they were idea and design work.
Right,
and
right,
what they were doing was they were doing, I remember, you know, because I would tease Ted all the time, because he was doing, like, deodorant campaign ads, and things like that. It was the kind of things, and then I think, I'm not sure how it happened, but a lot of people were coming to them and paying them to package comics. So Ted was, well, I guess we'll just do our own, and they started doing, the first ones were the Ashley Wood books.
Right.
And then with me,
Zombies versus Robots?
No, that was really early on, so it was just Popbot.
Popbot, yeah, yeah.
Popbot.
Okay, yeah.
So it was a robot. And then I did the Savage Membrane novel. Remember, I did the Cal McDonald novels, illustrated by Ashley Wood.
Yeah.
And that was, again, you know, they just did them for me.
Yeah.
And I remember Ted was like, do you want to do any comics? And I was at the point, I was 33, 34, and I was just like, you know, I literally went like, here's everything people have rejected. It's just like, here's the reject. I didn't even want to read it. And Ted was like, this vampire one sounds good. So we did. He's like, we can't pay you, and we did it in between doing issues of Hellspawn for McFarlane.
Right.
And we did it, and I was saying, you know, all the way up to the sales, the initial orders on issue 1 were only 4,000. And it wasn't until you know how long that takes from previews to the store. So we were convinced it was a total, you know, just like, yeah, it was a failure. It was fun for me because I finally got to do a comic the way I wanted to.
Right.
Because Ben's art is so perfect for a horror comic. So I was really happy. And then all of a sudden, we start getting these phone calls. And the only one, Ted hates this story. So I'm glad we're going to put it online. But I think, you know, one of our earliest offers was a producer was like, I'll give you $5,000 outright.
Right.
And we almost took it. And I remember I had to tell, I was just like, no, you know, because that was a lot then.
Yeah.
You know, we weren't getting paid for our books. That was a couple months rent at least.
Yeah.
And I remember we turned it down, and we're just like, oh, it's over. It's just over. And I think 3 weeks from that point, it turned into a bidding war.
Right, and Sam Raimi, right?
Yeah, and I remember it was MGM, DreamWorks, so it was Spielberg, so that was a little tough, and then Raimi with Sony, and really I don't even remember what the different offers were. I said go with Raimi.
Sure.
And they were so funny because they were all like, you got the Spider-Man director. I'm like, I got the Evil Dead director. What are you talking about? You know, Spider-Man. You know, it's like I got a guy who knows horror.
Right.
And that's meant more to me than all the. I honestly don't even know what the other offers were.
Yeah. So going back to the artists, you've worked with like some of the best in the business. I mean, literally. I mean, Bernie's a legend. You spend a lot of time with. Don't you play Scrabble with Bernie?
Yeah, he's like, well, actually, that's why we're moving. That's why we're moving. Bernie's in Austin.
Oh, really?
And he moved last year, and we've been trying to work for a year on Skype.
Okay.
And both of us are just tech idiots, so we hate it. And it's like if Bernie, if the picture goes out, the meeting's over.
Right. Okay.
We can't figure it out. And so it's just been, we were really lucky because what was funny was we met in Texas at the Dallas Comic Con, and I was talking to him. And I was like, I'm from LA. He goes, I'm from LA. I'm like, where are you at? He's like, I live off Moore Park. I'm like, I live off Moore Park. Moore Park and what? He's like, Moore Park. And we said at the same time, Moore Park and Cahuenga.
Really?
For 5 years, we were basically, I could throw a brick at his house. And had no clue. Never ran into him. So then once we met and started working together, everything from City of Others, Dead She Said, The Ghoul, Doc Macabre, every one of those was written sitting around playing Scrabble every Friday night.
Nice.
We just play, and obviously it's really low pressure. We're just playing for fun, and we just talk about what we want to do, and all the stuff just winds up in the books. As a matter of fact, I think in the back of Frankenstein Alive Live, that conversation that's back there, that's a Scrabble conversation.
Really?
And I just remembered it because Bernie has all these stories, and so I've learned finally. I could go like, did you ever meet Ditko? Even though I've asked him that 10,000 times, I know it'll trigger the story. So I get the Ditko story, about meeting him at a party.
That's good, yeah.
And so that's what that was, just talking about Frankenstein. And I just remember him telling me that story when he was a little kid that, you know, he thought the bolts held the head on as a little kid, and that just always stuck with me. Yeah. You know, as well as, you know, his stories about his art and stuff. You know.
Yeah, I mean, he's a true legend. I mean.
Well, and he came up as an illustrator when it was really frowned upon. You know, you didn't want to be telling your parents in the 50s and 60s that you wanted to be an illustrator.
Right.
Because you might as well just said, I want to be a ballerina.
Yeah.
And never make a dime.
Yeah.
you know, so because that's what they heard. You know, so the fact that he stuck with it, he told me my favorite story. He was trying to explain to his mother about how commercial artists work in the world. And they were in a grocery store, and he picked up, remember the old Planters cans?
Yeah,
when they had all peanuts all over them? He picked up and goes, an artist did this. And she went, honey, an artist did not paint all those cans. It's just like, okay, you know, it's like, well, we'll figure it out. No, but yeah, I've been really lucky with artists, you know, and a lot of it is, you know, I work with a lot of the older guys that the mainstream guys have sort of given up on, you know, that's a whole nother can of worms. And I work with all these weird indie guys that are too weird for the mainstream, but are perfect for what I do.
Yeah, you do pair them up with the right projects. I mean, Fiona on Mystery Society.
I know, it's my heartbreak. You know, although I'd say I've been vindicated a little bit.
From Saga?
Yeah, well, that was, you know, I got the call that I had to end it on 5 because Mystery Society was supposed to be an ongoing. And then a week or two later, you know, Brian Vaughn's one of my regular, you know, I've got people, we just write around, we just check in, and you're still alive, you know, kind of thing. And he wrote me and goes, do you know any good artists you guys are? And I was sitting there, and I almost didn't say anything, because I was just like, I'm going to find another job. But then Brian, you know, in one line, he was like, I want to do this sort of sweeping fantasy with all these weird characters. And I was like, God, it's so perfect for her.
Yeah.
So I gave it. And
then, it is a perfect project.
And the rest is history.
Yeah. Mystery Society was a great fit for that, too.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, well, you know, I figured now I have a comic to read.
Right.
I've got a comic, you know, Monica's reading, actually. So Saga's one of those books.
It is one of those books. I mean, another shop favorite here. It outsells X-Men, which makes we're very proud of that.
And it's one of those books that kind of proves what I've been saying for years is, why isn't there more science fiction and fantasy in comics?
Yeah.
You know, I know people think the superhero sort of is the sci-fi. I'm like, God, there's so much more we could do. And then just to see, I mean, them come out and just do it.
Yeah.
And it gets the reaction it does, and they're selling, and it's...
Yeah, it is doing very well. Yeah. Well, sci-fi, again, Transfusion definitely has a dash of horror, obviously, but, you know, sci-fi is what drew me in. Also the artists, you know, because I'm a big fan of Bill Sienkiewicz, Ken Kelly,
Kelly Jones.
Kelly Jones.
Yeah,
well,
we're brewing some new stuff.
I like Kelly's work.
We're working on Create Our Own thing. It might be superheroes, but it's going to be create our own.
Okay.
So
that's good.
We're just talking. You know, with Kelly's one of those guys. You know, he's one of those guys who actually, when he worked in the '90s on Batman, actually saved his money.
Good for him.
So he can, you know, so he can actually take some chances and do some work. He doesn't always have to be waiting for that next check.
Right.
So, which is great. So we're working on something right now, which is we're really excited about.
Any tidbits? Can't give it up.
It's me, you know, it's me doing superheroes.
All right.
Know? And
okay.
It's just, I keep telling them, it's like, well, if superheroes was told like Breaking Bad,
okay,
this is what it's going to be like.
Yeah, I heard it here
like
first.
It's brutal. I've been sending him all these little origin vignettes, and every time he writes, it's like, oh my God, we can't print this. I'm like, yes, we can.
Yeah, create your own. You can print pretty much whatever you like.
Yeah, so. And it's more of a thing where I'm approaching the whole superhero, the power. You know, there's no radiation or that. It's more of a disease.
Okay.
It's a disease people have, so it doesn't always work out great.
Yeah.
You know, you might become Superman, but you might explode. So
I'd like to see Superman explode. That'd
be the first. So wait, the working title is called Infected.
Infected?
Infected.
All right.
And,
who's going to be publishing it?
That's what we're deciding on.
Okay.
I'm talking to a couple of publishers right now. It's whoever I want to do. The one thing I've never done, and Mystery Society was supposed to be it. Simon Dark's probably the farthest I've gotten because that was 18 issues. I've never done ongoing. I've never had just that, like all my friends who work for Marvel and DC, they're just like, you know, they do 24 issues in a row, and they get to take their time, and they can plant little story bits here that you pick up later. I've always had to do it in 4 issues, or 5 or 6 issues.
So you're kind of contained a little bit.
So this is, I'm just, whoever will at least give me a year. They'll give me 12 issues, then I'll go with them.
New editor of Vertigo.
Yeah, no. I'm still trying to get Simon Dark back. That was supposed to be creator owned, and
Yeah.
I haven't been able to touch it for what, 5, 6 years now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know. Plus I've always had a weird thing with Vertigo. Karen just never really liked my stuff, but literally, I swear, she rejected Criminal Macabre, 30 Days a Night, Freaks of the Heartland, Wake the Dead, and one other. Literally everything I've ever sold as a movie was rejected by Vertigo.
Yeah.
So I kind of got to a point where it was like, they rejected it! You know, like,
I'm going to get a movie deal!
I know. I'm going to sell this thing now. And then I go to Dark Horse. So I'm just, you know, I'm looking around. It's really, it's nice now because you can get good creator-owned deals. You can do books at Image and maintain all your rights. And now Dark Horse is starting to do that. Starting a lot more creator-friendly, you know, contracts out there, which is really good.
Yeah.
You know, because I have a lot of stuff that I can never touch, like Simon Dark. I've had many opportunities to either publish that somewhere else or do a TV show or a movie.
And it's tied up.
Second you hit that corporate wall,
yeah.
you know, and it's not them being bad guys. They're just, you know, this is the way the corporations are set up. Right? You know, you can't get anything turned around fast.
So on that note, you are one of the most, I would say, outspoken and active advocates for creator rights.
You were going to say annoying, weren't you?
I was not going to say annoying.
I heard it. I so heard annoying.
So my question, what would you like to see for creators change in the industry? Because you went to bat for Gary when he was down on his luck and having troubles, and you know.
I was really kind of heartbroken a couple weeks ago when they announced that they finally settled the Schuster
thing,
and everybody was kind of going like, "Good, they don't deserve anything." It was like, and this whole thing, and I had to stay out of it because I was going to. They were like, "Well, you know, why should they get money for a seed of an idea?" Like, that's a hell of a seed.
Right.
That seed grew
right.
A corporation. I mean, Superman and Batman kept that company alive.
Yes.
For 75 years.
Yeah.
Just give them something.
Something, yeah.
You know.
I agree.
And that's it. So, you know, right now there's not much we can do about going back.
Mm-hmm.
So really, the reason I'm just so vocal is be aware of what you're doing. You know, I'll give you a perfect. You know, just be aware of what you're signing. When I sign work for hire contracts all the time, but I know it. And that's, I think a lot of creators get into it. They don't realize when they create something, they sell it to a publisher, they may lose 50% of their rights, you know, or more if they're not careful what they do.
Right.
And, you know, I've done that where I've signed a contract where the publisher gets 51% and I'm crippled. I can't do it. And it's really just know your rights and, you know, and really know what's out there and be realistic. You know, because that's I hear people all the time going, "Oh man, they treat me great at Marvel." I was like, yeah, go ask Kirby. You know? Go ask Kirby about being treated. He created that in everything in that company. You know, I mean, even Sam Lee's only involved by a court order, for God's sake.
Yeah.
You know? So it's important so we can avoid all those sad stories. Go into it now. You know, just educate yourself about what it is, and also decide if what you want to do you even need those characters, because that's what dawned on me with Infected. Now that I'm doing and Chin Music.
Yeah.
Chin Music is, I pitched basically every supernatural character at Marvel and DC at one point. You know, from the Phantom Stranger to Doctor Strange, the Creeper, all these guys. And a couple of years ago, I started going through these pitches, and I realized it's like I don't need these capes anymore to tell these stories. The public is finally, I mean, they're really educated.
Yeah.
You know, they understand. You
yeah.
know? I mean, that's why we can skip the origins in movies now, please. You know, because every movie now with the superheroes is like, I'm going to come in a half an hour.
Right, because get the origin out of the way.
You know, I love when they. That's why I actually enjoy Dread. Mm-hmm. So it was like, it wasn't great for if you didn't know what Dread was, but I loved it. Just got into it in the world.
Yeah.
And, you know, so what I've been doing, Chin Music, is sort of an amalgamation of a bunch of those supernatural pitches that I just created my own character. So that's another thing people can do now, because who knows? You know, Saga 10 years ago might have been a Justice League story, you know, or something like that, you know, and that would have been the only way to really get it out there because it would have been too weird. Don't need anymore. People just, you know, they understand what comics are, they understand the rules.
And you think most of the fans and people out there now are more aware of creator-owned stuff, or we still have a long way to go? Oh. I mean, retailer, creator,
comics. I mean, well, you know better than anybody. I mean, when I see top sales now, I'm just like, God, I used to have books canceled at that.
Right. Right.
You know, I see, you know, I specifically, you know, somebody was like, we hit 70,000 on a Marvel book. A friend of mine did, and I was congratulating him. And then I remembered
the
when
90s.
I did M for Eclipse way back. Remember that? John J. Muth?
John J. Muth, yeah. I love John's work.
Third issue orders came in, and Dean Mulaney called me and goes, we only sold 70,000. I don't know if we can take this serious. And I just like, also my brain was like, God, I didn't even know.
Right.
You know, we were putting out little indies and selling like 20, 30,000 copies.
Yeah, numbers that get canceled nowadays. And yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
people were used to the whole, if we're not moving 250,000 units in the 90s, you know.
Yeah. Well, so we had the newsstand distribution, all that. But, you know, we have nowhere to go but up in this whole industry. And it really is just everything print and all that. So I feel great about it.
Yeah.
You know, I have a feeling a lot more creators are going to be doing what I'm doing, which is just I'm going to be doing a lot more Kickstarter and stuff on my own, like those Bloody Pulp books.
Yeah.
You know, I had a nice little discovery when I did those books. I didn't think, you know, we printed like 2,000 of them, and we put them online, and my partner Alex called me and goes, we sold 500 in under 5 minutes.
See, yeah, that's good.
I was like, okay, had I not put a $5 cover price on that, I may have made some money.
Right.
So, but what dawned on me is like, if I have 500 reliable customers online, I can, you know, if I put out little better priced hardcovers, I think there's going to be a lot more of that. Just mixing things up and doing it yourself and getting it out there. But yeah, I actually, the last thing, I kind of feel like the problem now is we know people like comics, but they think they're one thing. So I get that. I mean, I can't tell you, it's like a broken record. If I hand somebody a 30 Days a Night and they'll go, I didn't know comics look like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, you know, they just think everything's the, you know,
superhero
bright
capes
colored,
and,
you know, line art. So I just feel like if we can just get these people's attention. You know, unfortunately, like, we're battling so much now because bookstores are going down. And, you know.
Stores are going down. I think that speaking as a retailer that's in this medium, we have the collectible aspect going for us.
Yeah.
So
and that's really good because fans want to hold it.
Yeah.
That's one thing, like, I had a thing last year with me and Neil Gaiman. We're not going at it. We had a friendly exchange about piracy.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing that drives me nuts. The day Frankenstein hits, you can get it free on a torrent site. And I go on. I had one experience where a comic I did a little zombie thing called Pieces for Mom.
Yes.
It was a really disgusting little book. And everybody really loved it, but we only sold like 5,000. I was like, well, what the hell happened? And Monica actually showed me a torrent site. And I went on there, 80,000 downloads.
Oh, really?
80,000. So I was like, I called the artist. I was like, good news, bad news. I'm like, one, we have an incredible readership. Dude, nobody's paying for it. And that's a big thing. I mean,
and I know, what is it, Neil's take on it is, pirate my stuff, get my stuff out there. Is that, if I remember correctly?
Because his numbers are the exact opposite of mine.
Right.
You know, people pirate 50,000, they buy 1 million.
Yeah.
And mine's like,
so he's okay with it.
He's fine. Yeah. I sell I sell 10,000 of something, and it gets pirated 80,000, 90,000 times.
Right.
You know.
So let's get segueing into digital. Your thoughts? I mean, as a creator who's doing creator-owned stuff, you want to get it into hands of anybody you can. So
I like it to be eventually print, but I'm fine with it. You know, I am with that. I'm well aware I'm the grandpa in the room. You know, on that because I have all the typical. I can't see it. You know, I can't see it on my phone.
Right.
I don't. You know, I work at my computer all day. I like to go sit on the couch and relax with a comic. Right. I don't want to crack open my iPad. It just doesn't. It doesn't work for me. But as a way to get it out there, and, you know, it's really because somebody pointed out to me is like I pretty much only deal with like PDFs and digital files, and I have been for about 10 years now. Yeah. You know, so now it's just offering those and selling them. So I get it. Yeah. I've had 1 or 2 people. Some kid tweeted me last week telling me that he couldn't read the lettering in 30 Days a Night, and I was like, well. Oh, really? You can't? He goes, it was on his phone. I'm like, well, I can't see anything on my phone.
Yeah, that's where the digital delivery of this. And I'm one of those retailers who's I'm not opposed to it. I'm not afraid of it. I'm partnered with Comixology. It's on my webpage. You can buy digital comics. Again, the collectible aspect comes back into play.
Well, look at Letters to Batman. I actually loved that. Was a digital first that when that came out, and now it's come out in a print edition.
And it's doing well.
And a whole new audience.
Yeah, it's doing
well. People are shocked that it's.
I'm a big fan of Richard's work. You obviously are.
I mean, he's my hero.
Yeah. Tell me how you got the story of how you acquired the rights.
Oh, that. Yeah. It was really funny, you know, because I remember early on, it was actually Stephen King tipped me off. I didn't know it, but I was a Matheson fan. Yeah. Because I loved all this stuff that he had written. I just didn't know it. And I think it was in Dance Macabre? Maybe it was in Dance Macabre or the introduction to Night Shift. Those were the two things. And he wrote about Richard Matheson's the first American writer, at least, to drag horror from the Gothic castles and stick it in, the suburbs.
Right.
And I think King kind of, used that a little bit.
Ape that from.
So, I started, and then sure enough, I discovered it's like, oh my God, this is the guy who wrote I Am Legend. Mm-hmm. It's my favorite book in the world for its simplicity, and it's never been made into a movie.
Properly. I'm with you.
No, it's not I Am Legend. I even joked with Matheson. One time I visited him, we were talking about the Will Smith, and he's like, what do you think of it? I said, it would have been great, but since the girl was narrated, it should have been He Be Legend. Right. And just like, and thank God he laughed. But he agrees. He's like, until you film that ending, and I'm just talking about the last 3-4 pages of the novel.
Yeah.
Until that ending is shot, it's not I Am Legend. It's the entire point. So yeah, I had got it in my head that I was going to make comic books. So naturally, I sat down and I wrote everybody. I wrote King. He got back to me. King got back to me. I wrote Clive Barker. That turned into a big, a lifetime partnership. He actually gave me half the rights to the Books of Blood when I first started out. But it was Matheson. I wrote him the letter, and he wrote me back like almost. I still have this because there's little cards from his desk saying, I appreciate that you're very young and you don't know what you're doing and you have no money. And I was like, wow, this is a really excruciating rejection letter. And he got to the end, he goes, but I'm afraid I'll have to ask for $100 for the rights to I Am Legend. I was just floored, and the punchline is I still had to borrow the money. I didn't have $100 at 19. I had a job. I didn't know what to do. But he just let me do my thing, and that's kind of where I started. That was the first thing I ever adapted, and that's really. And then I went on to do the Clive Barker and Harlan Ellison stuff and all that, and that's where I really learned, how to adapt stuff and as a writer, make yourself disappear. Yeah. I mean, you read I Am Legend. I've got nothing to do with it. It's Richard Matheson, and that's it. But the adaptation, the novel's 125 pages? Remember the comic? 225.
Yeah.
I don't think I cut out maybe 100 words of the whole
Was it
novel.
Comico?
No, that was
Piranha?
Eclipse.
It was Eclipse.
It was Eclipse. We did the 4-issue, and then
all those awesome
IDW collected
gone.
it. Yeah, and IDW collected it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eclipse. Well, and, Dean Mulaney's doing all the stuff at IDW now.
Really?
Been winning Eisners for all this collected stuff.
IDW's pushing out some really nice hardcover stuff.
I'm dying over those. The Spider-Man, the Romita Spider-Man.
Artist editions. I have the Alien one.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and I got a really nice.
I've been seeing it, yeah.
I've got a really nice. Mine came with an original Alien Warrior from Walt Simonson in it.
What?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was my birthday present to myself.
Wow. So, I haven't seen that. Yeah, they're doing, and the Frankenstein portfolio, and the Neil Adams portfolio, really.
Portfolios should make a comeback.
No, they shouldn't, because I'm moving right now, and I just found my box of 80s portfolios.
I love portfolios.
That I've never framed. I'm like,
know.
oh, Mike Zeck, Batman, Punisher. I was like, this is great stuff, but I've got the Sienkiewicz vampire ones.
Oh,
found
really?
All of those.
He's one of my favorite artists.
I've got I forgot, I used to buy all those things, and yeah, and they're still in boxes.
I had Howard Chaykin here not so long ago for Black Kiss, and I dusted off an old 1980s Chaykin Robin Hood portfolio and had him sign it. He's like, where the hell did you get this? I'm like, dude, I've had this forever.
People used to put them out. I just found a bunch of copies of, what was Steranko's magazine? He did portfolio magazines, and I actually, Deadline, something like that? No, Media Scene. I'm sorry, Media Scene. So I pick it up, and it's all splash pages of Wrightson, Kaluta, Barry Smith.
Yeah.
Just gorgeous stuff. I forgot. They used to put a lot of portfolios back then.
A lot of portfolios back then.
People bought them, too.
Yeah, they did, and that's what they should make more. No, can't do those
all
digitally.
You know what? It turns out, I just realized it's just, because it's the same thing with prints. You can only put so much stuff on your walls.
On your walls,
and, frames. So it's like, and original art always goes first.
Yeah,
so I
agree.
Very few prints have actually made it up, which is why I have boxes of portfolios from the 80s.
Yeah. Someday they're worth $1 million.
Actually, I found, the one I do love is I found my Marvel Creators one, the Foom one. Remember, with all the self-portraits of all the creators, Trimpe, Romita, all them at their desks with their characters. Remember that portfolio?
I don't. You have that? That's awesome.
Yeah, it's like Romita drew himself with all the Spider-Man characters around, and Trimpe drew himself with like the Hulk and Steranko and all these guys.
I think I'm going to need to find the Sienkiewicz vampire one, because I love Bill's work.
Got both. Those are gorgeous.
Yeah.
Of course, unfortunately, are printed pretty bad now.
Yeah.
Now you look, and so you can see the screen and all that half tone from the paintings.
Good stuff, though. we're gonna wrap it up here. Yeah. So I have one last question. I know we're getting this. What do you love about comics in the medium?
What do I love about it?
Yep.
You can do anything. I mean, unlike, and then the same holds for prose. Because people always attack me when I say this, because it's, but prose and comics share the same thing, is that you can have any budget, you can go anywhere you want, you can do anything you want, and nobody can tell you, because really all you just need is 2 people, tops. Yeah. And if you're a guy who can write and draw, but I just love it because, come on, it's words and pictures.
I'm with you.
What's not to love? I mean, if anything, I'm stunned at how little we've managed to do with the medium. Which is what I'm kind of looking forward to seeing, the industry grow up a little bit and, start doing more stuff.
Yeah.
Out there, which I think is happening. Just the fact that we have those Parker books that Darwin Cook does.
The Darwin Cook Parker.
As hardcover books, and they're selling mostly outside the comic market.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
There's a lot of like Big Bang people aren't really down with Big Bang, like a lot of the hardcore nerds. Yeah. But I think as a retailer, it's opened up doors for, if you come in here looking for Sheldon, bobbleheads and stuff, I'm going to put a Saga or something in your hands when you leave.
No, so. it opens the door just a little bit, and that's been with retailers, we've been, every time a movie comes out, Iron Man's a big hit. Staring at the door,
exactly. Yeah, totally.
Come in, and just waiting. So if it's TV shows or whatever gets people in, because it's just this thing. It's this stigma they got to get over it.
Yes.
It's not kid stuff. It's and
it's not just superheroes and tights.
Not just superheroes. No, which is why we just need to keep more. The more media. I'm waiting for somebody to do a romance comic. Somebody that loves that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because that might take off. You never know. Because, the Fatale and Saga and all these things. I mean, who would have thought Walking Dead would be a TV show right now?
And have a huge following.
Huge following. I haven't seen this episode, but I love the existence of that show because it just makes all of our lives so much easier.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah.
Thanks for coming up, Steve.
Oh,
great talking with you, man.
Always great.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Just got thanks. You got crickets.
SliceofSciFi.com